I was just an engineer on Earth, the kind of man who fixed things that didn't want to work. Cars, drones, air filters, you name it. My life was quiet, predictable, and painfully ordinary. That all changed on a Thursday. I'd been working late at the solar array outside of Phoenix when the sky opened. Not with thunder, but with light. A blinding column shimmered over the desert, swirling like liquid glass. I remember shielding my eyes, watching in disbelief as shapes formed within the light. Tall, humanoid silhouettes, gleaming like statues carved from moonstone. Then everything went black. When I came to, I wasn't on Earth anymore. The arrival. I awoke in a massive hall of silver and white marble, ceiling lost in mist. The air felt alive, humming with a frequency that vibrated in my bones. Strange symbols pulsed faintly across the walls, and beyond a set of towering doors, I could hear voices. Dozens of them, speaking a language I didn't recognize. 2 armored guards approached, their armor reflecting starlight. Their faces were humanoid but too perfect, symmetrical, ethereal, eyes like crystal shards. "Human male," one said, voice melodic but firm. "You have been selected." Selected for what? Croak, still dizzy. To fulfill the binding of realms. Before I could ask more, they gestured for me to follow. I didn't exactly have much of a choice. They led me through a corridor lined with holographic murals. I caught glimpses of planets, cosmic storms, and what looked like 2 galaxies merging into one. At the center of it all was a single figure, a woman in royal armor, holding a glowing spear, standing against a tide of shadow. "She is the one you will stand beside," the guard murmured, noticing my gaze. I frowned. "Who?" He hesitated. "The princess, heir to the throne of Virellia, and salvation to your world." The princess. The next chamber opened like a cathedral, a vast throne room bathed in radiant light. At its center stood a woman unlike anyone I had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly, like starlight reflecting on water. Her hair cascaded in strands of silver and violet, eyes deep and luminous like twin nebulae. She wore a flowing gown of woven crystal fibers, and her posture was regal yet strangely vulnerable. When her eyes met mine, I froze. "Bring him forward," she commanded softly. The guards obeyed. I stood before her, heart pounding, half convinced I was dreaming. "So this is the human chosen by the Convergence," she said, tilting her head. "A fragile creature of carbon and fear." "Hey," I said automatically. "I'm standing right here." Her lips curved slightly, not quite a smile but close. "You have spirit. That will be useful." I swallowed. Useful for what? She descended from the throne, moving like light itself. "The binding. A union between our worlds. It requires 2 beings, one from each realm, to join through sacred vow. It stabilizes the dimensional rift between Virellia and your Earth." "You mean marriage?" "Yes." She nodded. "In your tongue, yes. Symbolic one. But it must be real. It must be felt." "So you're saying, if I don't marry you, our worlds collapse?" Her eyes softened just a fraction. "Precisely." "Choice." They gave me quarters in the palace, though palace hardly did it justice. The Virellians lived in structures that floated, walls made of living light. Servants bowed as I passed, whispering the word Terran like it was sacred. Over the next few days I learned more. The Virellians weren't gods, though they seemed like it. They were ancient, a race that had mastered the manipulation of quantum resonance, traveling across galaxies not through ships, but through folded space. But something had gone wrong. A dark energy, a collapsing singularity, threatened both our universes. Their binding ritual was the only way to stabilize it, but it required a living bond between their bloodline and a sentient from another world. And somehow, the ritual had chosen me. They didn't explain how. Just that the portal had opened near me, that my biological resonance matched the princess's in a way no other being had. The princess, whose name I finally learned was Virellia, kept her distance. She was polite, formal, yet cold. But occasionally I caught glimpses beneath the armor. The exhaustion in her gaze, the sadness in her quiet moments. She wasn't just royalty. She was burdened with saving an entire civilization. The wedding of stars. The day of the ceremony arrived faster than I could prepare for. I stood in robes of white and silver, a strange crown placed on my head. The entire Virelian High Council filled the cathedral, thousands of luminous beings chanting in unison. Outside, through the crystal walls, I saw stars bending, forming luminous bridges across space. Eris stood across from me, radiant in ceremonial armor, eyes calm but distant. The High Oracle raised his staff. By the resonance of realms, we bind Virellia and Terra through the hearts of these two. Let their souls unite, and let the darkness tremble before their light. I expected some kind of ring exchange. Instead, Eris stepped forward, touching her palm to my chest. Energy surged through me, warm, alive, almost unbearable. My vision blurred as our minds connected for a heartbeat. I saw flashes of her memories, battlefields, loss, endless duty. And then she saw mine. Earth's blue sky, laughter, pain, simplicity. When it ended, she whispered, "It is done." The audience erupted in song, a resonance that shook the air. But even through the celebration, I could see it in her eyes. Something wasn't right. The truth. That night, Eris came to me. No guards, no ceremony. Just her in a simple robe. "The ritual failed," she said quietly. My blood ran cold. What? The convergence stabilized. But only partially. It's holding for now, but the darkness still feeds. I underestimated the connection's strength. I frowned. Then what do we do? She looked at me, truly looked. We strengthen the bond. Not through ritual, but through trust, understanding, emotion. The binding isn't just physical, it's emotional energy. You must feel for me what your kind calls love. I nearly choked. Love. We just met. She tilted her head. Then we must learn quickly. Over the next days, Eris and I spent time together, walking through starlit gardens, exploring her world's wonders. I learned about her people's art, their cities suspended over luminous oceans, their music made of light and sound. She, in turn, asked about Earth, our imperfections, our chaos, our humor. And slowly she changed. She started to smile. She laughed. Awkwardly at first, then freely. She told me about her father, the Emperor, who had sacrificed himself to hold back the dark. She confessed she feared never living for herself, only for her crown. One night, beneath a twin-moon sky, I said softly, "You don't always have to be a savior." She turned to me, eyes glistening. "And you, human, don't always have to be ordinary." Our bond deepened. Not through magic, but through something far older and more human. The invasion. Just when peace felt possible, the stars screamed. A tremor shook the city. I rushed to the balcony. The horizon burned with black fire. Ships like shadows tore through the atmosphere. "They've come," Eris said, voice trembling. "The devourers. The ones who caused the rift." Alarms blared. The sky darkened as the invading fleet descended. Eris grabbed her spear, a weapon of condensed starlight, and turned to me. "Stay here." "Not a chance," I said, grabbing the sidearm they'd given me. "We're married, remember?" Her eyes widened, then she smiled faintly. Then fight beside me, Terran. We raced to the command platform. The palace shook as explosions thundered. Eris stood before her soldiers, voice rising above the chaos. For every star they extinguish, we ignite 10 more. For Virellia, and for our allies of Terra. The crowd roared. As the battle began, I stayed by her side. The devourers were monstrous, shifting, shadowed things like living void. Eris fought with breathtaking grace, her spear carving arcs of pure light. But even she faltered as their leader emerged, a towering being of darkness, wielding a blade made of collapsing energy. You cannot stop the entropy, child, it hissed. Your bond is a lie. Eris struggled to stand. I ran to her side, shielding her from a blast. The creature sneered. A human. Pathetic. Glared up. Maybe. But humans don't quit. Then I did something stupid. I grabbed Eris's hand and focused. On her, on everything we'd shared. And for a moment I felt it again, that pulse, that connection. Light exploded from our joined hands. The shock wave rippled outward, disintegrating the shadow creatures. The leader screamed as the energy consumed him, his body unraveling into dust and fading into nothing. When the light dimmed, silence fell. The darkness was gone. The aftermath. We stood in the wreckage, breathing hard. Eris turned to me, eyes wide with disbelief. You stabilized the convergence. You channeled the binding. I laughed weakly. Guess love really does save the universe. She smiled then, truly smiled. Perhaps it does. The following weeks were a blur. The council declared the convergence restored. Both our worlds were safe. But when they offered to send me home, I hesitated. Earth suddenly felt small, and Eris. She was home now. One evening, as we watched the twin moons rise, she spoke softly. Do you regret it? Being chosen? I shook my head. Not for a second. She took my hand. Then perhaps the convergence didn't choose you by accident. Perhaps it knew. Knew what? Asked. That no human can ever be ordinary, she whispered. Epilogue. The bond eternal. Years passed. I became more than a curiosity, an ambassador, a bridge between two worlds. The Virellians learned from humanity's chaos and creativity, while Earth benefited from their wisdom and technology. But more than that, I stayed by Eris's side. Together we ruled, not as empress and consort, but as equals. Sometimes when the night was quiet and the stars shimmered just right, she'd tease me. Tell me again, Terran. How does your kind express eternal devotion? I'd smile and pull her close. We say, I love you. She'd rest her head against my chest, her voice soft. Then let that be our binding. And somewhere between galaxies, where two hearts once defied the darkness, love became the light that saved them all.